Hello and welcome to the East Lampeter Township Public Meeting. All participants are now informed that this meeting is being recorded. This meeting is also being offered virtually utilizing Zoom, which is a cloud-based platform for remote video and audio conferencing. The Zoom application is free to the public. The general public is therefore able to join the meeting by connection through the internet or by calling in by phone. The public is also able to observe the meeting on the Township's YouTube channel. Please continue to check the Township website calendar for any updates related to these public meetings. Agendas for these public meetings will also be available on the Township's website. Please be reminded that this meeting is being video and audio recorded and will be posted to the Township's YouTube channel for viewing. The meeting will now proceed with the chairman calling the meeting to order and identifying all other members present in the meeting room and those joining the meeting via Zoom. The chairman will then confirm those members joining by Zoom can be heard.
Good evening and welcome to the East Lampeter Township Board of Supervisors meeting for March 20th, 2023. Joining me in the room this evening are various members of our staff. The entire Board of Supervisors is here present in the room this evening. There are no members coming in via Zoom. There are individuals that are signed on via Zoom, so we do give individuals opportunity to participate if they reach out and communicate with our staff, so that may happen as well throughout the evening. Okay, if you would please rise and join me in saying the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. There is a sign-in sheet at the back of the table as you come in or as you leave. If you would please make sure to sign in there. We need that for the public record. There are also agendas at the back of the room as well. Okay, item number 3 on our agenda this evening is for public comment for non-agenda items. If there are items on the agenda that you're here for, you can speak at that time. These are for public comments for individuals to come and present to the Board of Supervisors. So anyone here for public comment? Yes. If you would just come up to the podium, if you would please, and if you would please state your name, if you would please.
Hi,
Thank
my
you.
name is Sonia Candelaria. I've been living at the Summer Mill Creek here for the past 5 years. For the past 2 years, this place has changed really, really bad. I'm talking about a lot of crimes going on in there, from the hotel next to Wawa, which I went there yesterday to find out who's running that place. And he already said he had 2 guys the past 2 months overdose in that place, 2 deaths, which we had in January 28th at the parking lot where I live, another death of a woman overdosed there. Nothing is. I'm scared because these people, there's a lot of drugs going on there. People are, some of these people is homeless people, or I don't know, they're not just homeless, but other people, they are camping from the Summer Mill Creek to Walmart. They camp there. They use the bathroom at the Flory Park there to use the bathroom, and they shoot up in there too. They use the bathrooms, they clean themselves. It's just terrible. It's just really going down the hill, really too fast. You know, I never seen nobody put it in a body bag. I tape it. I had it all on tape. They put it in a body bag and everything was just horrendous. Like, I come from Brooklyn, I never saw that before. Not even a dead person in Brooklyn. Beat up people, yeah, but a dead person overdose right in front of my house. Another question, another happened last year. There was another homeless person. He was old and he had a young girl. And they put a hammock, I hope I'm saying it right, between the signs. They were sleeping there and everything all day long. And we were in the pool and like, what's going on here? So somebody called because this individual had a machete, not a knife, a machete. So they called the cops came and they just talked to him and everything, whatever, like for 25 minutes. Another cop came, the other one left, and nothing was done. They just told him, you need to pack and move along. It took them, the couple, like an hour to pack all the crap and all the stuff. Guess where they move along? Behind my house in the creek. He's cutting his hair with a machete, taking a shower and smoking whatever they smoke because it stinks right behind my house, the apartment. Too much. One time too, there was a kid, which they did something about it. He had a BB gun and he shot all these little windows from the car. Well, I was one of them, and by the time I called, that I found out was the last one, and he already had hit 70 cars. He got caught at Belly Ridge, the person. Those are little things that you cannot, it's not safe anymore. It just doesn't feel safe. And the guy from over there, then you see the needles and you see stuff behind the pool, behind over there, Walmart, all that stuff everywhere. Florida Park, I try to go there once in a while to look, but I get scared too because these people, sometimes they just do anything for $20. They can do anything, rob you, take your phone, do whatever. Well, I'm more concerned about the motel there, that Budget Inn. That's nothing but a drug-infested motel, seriously. If there's death going on left and right, he's saying the past 2 months, 2 more overdose there. Now, who is selling the stuff that's bad? Somebody's killing people left and right. Or something gotta be done. So that motel, it has just brought nothing but misery. Nothing but misery, I talked to the guy, it was a Hispanic guy that was manager and stuff like that. I said, we tried to clean it up, blah, blah, blah. I said, well, you're not doing a very good job to clean it up. Well, if we don't accept these people, we are against, you're not supposed to.
Discriminating.
Whatever, yes, that. You're not supposed to, because they look dirty or they look bad or they look, cannot say no, you cannot stay here if they have the money. Now, ask him everywhere, every corner, you can see them asking for money. That's fine, whatever they want to ask for money. But that is an accident to happen one of these days, really bad accident. Because people just stops in there, they stop crooked just to give them money. And, people got a drive around there. Not only that, the couple that have a child that's 5 years old, they're homeless, they're sleeping behind Walmart. They've been there for a year and now they're still there. I haven't seen them in the last week. I heard they called the kids, whatever, they took the kid away for 5 days, get him right back, asking for money. I don't understand how come a couple can have a child and homeless and just asking for money and think about it. That kid is not safe nowhere. It's not safe with them, and it's not safe nowhere there. He's sleeping in a campsite down by Walmart, behind Walmart. That is just terrible down there. And let's see what else. Well, that's about it. I'm very concerned about, it's too much. It's too much. We have to do something. I got a granddaughter. I'm raising a granddaughter. Her mom passed away, and I left. I'm from Colombia down there, and I went thinking this is going to be a better, and I've seen worse thing here than I've seen in the city, in Colombia. Colombia right here in PA, even though that's getting bad too. But Conestoga Valley here, this is just, I'm just like amazed, like what is going on? We gotta do something we gotta do. The Summer Mill Creek, they have a guy until 2 o'clock in the morning doing rounds, to tell at least, hey, you need to get out or move along or whatever, but he passed away 2 years ago. Now they don't want to hire nobody. I said, I would do it. I was, with the car, go around. They say, it's too much money. We don't have the money to be telling these people to move out. Yeah, but nothing was happening. Things were getting better. Ever since he passed away, that they don't do the rounds no more, everything went down the hill. And it's not cheap in there. I paid $14.50 for a 2-bedroom apartment. And I just getting worse security than, yeah, so that's what I'm here for.
Mrs. Candelaria, thank you for coming, by the way. staff has said that they've been in contact, and so please keep the communication going.
Okay.
Don't stop calling the police department.
Okay.
Keep calling the police department because it may seem as though their response time may be slow, or maybe when they come, things that you want to happen may not happen at that moment, but they're keeping record of all of this. They keep documentation of individuals and where things occur. You should know that at this board for better part of the past 12 months, we've been looking at ways in which we can deal with some of the issues related to homelessness, panhandling, obviously the drug activity. We live in a suburban to even our rural communities. You well know, but these are issues that are not particular to us. They're happening all over the country, and it's so important that residents take an interest in these things. Call the police, call the staff. We've got folks from the County Housing and Redevelopment Authority that we've got involved and engaged in these issues. Members of our board are engaging some of the local churches from the ministerium to start taking an interest in some of these issues. So we've got to, as a community, step up and start to put in place a plan.
A lot of people in my community, they're scared to come, they're scared to talk. And I said, there's nothing going to be done. And I said, well, you still got to say it. They need to know what's going on.
Absolutely.
They know. But they need us to go here, tell them. I was very not happy with the guy with the machete. Like, they should have just arrested him for the non-assault. But he had a machete. That was too much. So
Keep calling the police.
okay,
We
I will.
are aware of many of these issues, and we are trying to.
Yes.
To do
If I see anything, believe me. I will
stay away from. Just call the police.
I got selling those drugs. He probably won because he killed a couple of people in that. So
Thank you very much. Thank you for coming. Appreciate that. Yes. Any other public comment to the Board of Supervisors? Okay. All right. Let's move on to our consent agenda, gentlemen. Consent agenda is item number 4A. We have approval of the March 20th, 2023 Board of Supervisors meeting agenda. We have approval of the minutes of the Monday, March 6th, 2023 regular meeting of the Board of Supervisors. And 4C, approval to pay invoices from all of our funds. This evening, we have a total of $1,334,470.45. There are a couple of items of note. I guess at this point, just one. So we have $957,086.97 to Fulton Financial for the East Lampeter Sewer Authority debt service principal and interest payments. With pleasure.
Mr. Chairman, there's a change in the agenda.
Oh, thank you very much. Appreciate that, Tara. We are removing item number 9C under new business. So item number 9C, that will be coming up at a future meeting. The applicant has asked us to remove that. So
Motion to accept with the removal of 9C.
thanks, Mike. Okay, so motion to accept the consent agenda is a second by Corey. Okay, questions, concerns? Hearing none, those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? Okay, the motion carries. Thank you. Item number 5, Lafayette Fire Company 2022 annual report. Chief Keen, do you want to come up and have a conversation with us? Thank you.
Thank you for allowing me to report out the end of year 2022. Before you'll find some books. I'm not going to cover everything in the book, but I'm going to talk about the highlights that are in the book. For those of you that are in the audience, my name is Dave Keens. I'm the fire chief at Lafayette Fire Company. We are one of 4 fire companies that cover the township. We are on the western side of the township, and I'm the chief of Lafayette. Thank you.
Thank you for doing that, Dave. Appreciate that. Introducing yourself to running.
By the way, we are 100% volunteers. This is like a second job.
And you too can volunteer, who wants to. You don't have to run.
Administrative position.
Administrative positions, you can make chickens, you can clean trucks, you can do all kinds of stuff.
That I'm going to cover this evening will be on the executive summary. So if you want the executive summary tab, For Lafayette Fire Company in 2022 statistics, we are one of the busiest fire companies in Lancaster County. We actually ended the year 2022 with a record amount of calls, fire calls, that is 619 calls, which is a 9.68% increase from 2021. Of those 619 calls, we actually cover 2 townships. We provide service to Lancaster Township on the eastern side of their township, and we provide service to East Lampeter Township. That is the majority of our service. So in East Lampeter Township, out of the 619 calls for service, we had 479 calls. For Lancaster Township, we had 71 calls. As you look through the summary, you will notice that false alarms and automatic fire alarms increased by 68%. Okay. That is a big contributor to the overall 619 calls. Those 68% increase, thanks to the East Lampeter Township staff, we identified that most of those alarms were attributed to 2 local businesses, 42 at one business, 23 at another. We did a review of those businesses and got those under control. So I'm looking potentially for less calls this year in 2023. So with that said, we do not have a fire alarm, sprinkler inspection, testing, or maintenance program in place. So some of the places that we do go to, I mean, the sprinklers, they weren't inspected since they were installed, so that is a contributor. Others are more social lifestyle that we see at the hotels that are a contributor. But I want to thank East Lampeter Township staff for working with the hotels to try and get those under control. Property lost in East Lampeter Township from fire damage, we're down from historic levels. $145,600. That's low compared to historic years. Usually we were somewhere around the $500,000, $600,000 range. East Lampeter Township property saved. Those are the buildings that had the $145,000 damage, and the property amount that were saved at those buildings totals $2.2 million, 2.241 property saved. We provided mutual aid to other agencies, so that would be other fire companies within the township and other fire companies outside of the township at 69 responses, which is consistent with prior years. Total average training hours, no, not average, total training hours, 2,053. That is also consistent with prior years, excluding the COVID timeframe where we saw the training just fall off. All classes were canceled during that time frame just because of the commingling. Average member response per call, I'm glad to report we were at 9. We are at 9 for year 2022. It's consistent with prior years. However, it's down from historical. Back when I first joined the fire company in 2004, yeah, almost 20 years ago. We had our average response was probably in the 14, 15 range. So that number, it takes a lot to move that. We were at 8 last year, we're at 9 this year. Incidents between the hours, what I call the night owls, which is midnight from 6 p.m. Midnight to 6 a.m. We had 75 calls during the year at that time frame. Dayside, which is our busiest time, that's from 6 o'clock in the morning until 6 o'clock in the evening. We had 377 calls during that time frame. And in the evening hours, which is 6 o'clock p.m. through midnight, we had 167 calls. Financial, our annual fund drive, we send out fund drive mailers in hopes of donations. 42,151, that's down 15% from 2021. What we did see was, though we received less contributors, we saw those who contribute more. So while we are down 15% in the number of contributions, we are somewhat status quo with the amount that the residents are contributing. Now, with that said, out of the 5,500 mailers that we send out for donations, we had a less than 10% return. I think it was 9.6% return. So that's 500 people donating when we send out requests for 5,000 people to donate. That's kind of a slap in the face.
Mhm.
Our building loan, as you're aware, we owe $810,000 towards our building. We are paying that off. We're getting ready to make another payment on that. We are paid a year ahead on that building loan. Our goal is to maintain that gap period in order to accrue funds, because it's difficult to run a $1 million business on donations. So we need that gap time to buffer any decline in donations that we may have. Sticking with the 20-year fire apparatus replacement plan, the Lafayette ladder truck is due for replacement in 2026. We are currently navigating the replacement process and the replacement type. We're discussing whether it be a ladder truck, that's one with a ladder, or whether it be a platform truck, one that has a platform on the end. They will both be in the area of 100 feet. It will mirror what we currently have today. Whether it's a ladder or a platform is to be determined. What we are running into, though, is costs. As we know, the cost of everything, whether it's food, not so much gas anymore, whether it's food, electricity, just goods and services, the costs are going up double from what they were historically. A lot is also a lot of attention given to the lead time. They're quoting like 4 years lead time now. And if you want to start a planning process on a piece of fire apparatus, you usually start 3 years in advance, and then you order it and you expect it within a year or two. Well, this is getting to be like a 7-year time frame now. If you're planning for 3 years, you order it and you don't get your apparatus for another 4 years. 7 years, technology changes. We all know that. So this is kind of a new area that we're dealing with here. Volunteerism, that's nothing new. I mean, we're always out there trying to drum up volunteers, but it's becoming it's more of a struggle than it historically has been to find volunteers. But you know, that's not only in the volunteer world, that's in the skilled labor world too. We have trouble, everyone has trouble with just getting labor, period. Everybody will tell you that we don't have the manpower to meet your needs. And it is no different as a volunteer. Community, Lafayette Connected, and we engaged with the community 49 times in 2022, promoting who we are and our need for volunteers, whether it would be visiting churches, going to the Tanger outlets, going to the colleges, you know, and putting out our recruitment table in our tent and sitting there with applications and telling these people what it means to be a volunteer, who we are and how we affect the community. That's pretty much all I have. If you have not gotten a chance, please visit YouTube for Heroes Next Door. Heroes Next Door profiles the Lafayette Fire Company as of, that's just recent here, as of the first week of March. So far, we have had 92,000 views on our fire station and what we're all about. Since that, we've had one gentleman who has watched that video. He had asked if it was true, you know, that we are volunteer, yes, and he would like to come and submit an application. He is actually working on attending Stevens Trade School, not till the 2024 semester, but that's another volunteer that we're out there looking for. So yes, thank you for the time, and if you have any questions.
Yeah, don't step away yet, Dave. Thank you for coming, Dave. I appreciate work with you for a dozen years or so, and always admire your commitment. To the residents in the room, East Lampere Township has 4 volunteer fire companies. We have had that for,
We've been in business since 1943.
as I say, at least 75 years. We've had 4 volunteer fire companies. I think one of those goes back to 100 years. But 4 volunteer fire companies. The taxpayers put in funds. Dave mentioned the apparatus replacement fund. So we do help at a sizable level, taxpayers do, to support some of what the volunteer fire companies do. If you are a resident and you live somewhere, I'm sure you do, you can write a check for $50 to $500 to your local fire company and support them. It is a bargain compared to what you would pay for if you had a full-time fire service in your community. So wherever you live, remember to support your volunteer fire services. Mike is our current board representative on our emergency services committee for many, 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 many years. All four of our volunteer fire companies and a member of the board of supervisors and staff meet bi-monthly, every other month. I think we've all had a chance to serve on that as well too. So we're very actively engaged and supportive of our companies. Dave doesn't even live in the township. Dave lives in West Lampeter Township. Has spent his career working for a large manufacturing company in the area, and he gets paid a whole lot for being a volunteer firefighter. So just remember that wherever you live, you too can volunteer. We had a sizable storm about 1.5 years ago, and about 2 a.m. I called because my basement was filling up from Mill Creek, and Dave and about 6 other guys were there for about 6 hours with pumps, keeping my house from floating away. So I'm tremendously grateful. Appreciate that, Dave. Thanks for coming. Any other members of the board? Mike?
Anytime they have an open house, I really recommend people go and see, especially Lafayette's operation. It's really something.
This evening, we're at Dutch Wonderland, working a high angle drill, seeing how we can move the apparatus in and out of the narrow pathways that are in there. That's where I'll be going when I leave here.
Good for you.
Thank you for your time.
One question, Dave.
Yes.
Would you happen to know, so I have a business in Manheim Township, and they have a much more strict false alarm fee that goes up to $500 fine by the third one, and then they revoke your permit. They don't come out after that. And you have to go reapply, get a new permit, and go through. And I've suggested we copy that here. I don't know if you know what percentage of their calls are for false alarms in Manheim Township.
I do not. And I wasn't aware that they actually have instituted that program, but they do have a fire marshal now, and that is probably one of the things that he was tasked with.
That's been on for, so the police actually give you a citation. So the police issue you your ticket. You get a ticket every time you have a false alarm. So you get fined $100 first time. And then after 4 of them, they revoke your permit. You have to go reapply, and that's expensive. I've had a couple false alarms, and I learned very quickly to make sure that Yarnell fixed everything. They have recently also instituted an inspection. So their new fire marshal now, you have to, every year you pay a fee, and you have to get all your fire stuff, your extinguishers you already do, but the pumps and the sprinklers now have to be inspected. So that's just, there's 43% of your calls. Anything we can do to increase the pressure on businesses who would rather have a false alarm, even on those ones that are 1, 2, or 3 years, those add up real quick. If you're putting 8 folks on a truck and running out, and they're all leaving work, and you have 200 and some false alarms, anything we can do, I would suggest the board would look at Manheim Township's model.
Can you look into that and bring it back to Mike at the EDC? Just call over Manhattan. Thank you, Dave. Appreciate it. Get the Dutch Wonderland. Thank you. Appreciate that. Thanks, Ethan. Good comments. Okay. All right, moving on. Six, we have a presentation in reference to the Lancaster Heritage Pathway Extension Project grant application. State your name, and you're going to need to introduce some of this for those people in the room. So,
Okay,
thank you.
very good. My name is Dan Hughes. I am a landscape architect with YSM Landscape Architects in New York. And I have been working with your staff to develop a grant application for what I think locally is called the GoPath. And we use that name in the grant application. But it is the trail extension from Walnut Street intersection into East Lansing.
Well, on that map to your left is Route 30 and the cloverleaf that goes into the city, which is being worked on right now, which will actually go into the new Walnut Street Exchange, and it will head east into the Greenfield Business Park. Thank you, man.
That is a PennDOT project that's going from 30 to the Greenfield area. It's ending around Ben Franklin Boulevard, which is adjacent to the Pennsylvania College of Health and Sciences. So that's about where it ends. It ends in a trailhead. That project, separate from what I'm presenting tonight, but that project will have a 16-foot wide pedestrian and bicycle trail on the south side of the road that's going in. So there are accommodations for pedestrians and bicycles. And the project we're talking about tonight is the remaining 1.5 miles that will reach from that trailhead, which I consider the western trailhead, to the East Lampeter boundary, where we will have another trailhead, or the eastern trailhead. That is in the area of Geist Road. So this is an overall map, and you'll see there's 3 green rectangles on there, and they're for each of the next sheets. So if we could just go to the next one. See here, the western trailhead, this is again the elements that are being proposed and under construction actually by PennDOT.
So the roundabout in the middle of that picture is almost directly behind the Pennsylvania College of Health Sciences. And that is where most of what we're talking about with PennDOT and the Walnut Street extension, the roadway and the bike path ends just about right there. And then what you're talking about tonight, Ann, is going from there to the right or to the east.
To the east.
Thank you.
To the east. But just beyond the roundabout that is centered on Ben Franklin Boulevard is a parking area. And we call parking area a trailhead in trail lingo. Trail development lingo, that's a trailhead. So we are proposing that the bicycle and pedestrian tread developed at 16-foot wide continue all the way to the west eastern boundary of the township, and it is the darker blue line, and then you'll see some yellow and green, and above that is a secondary tread at 14-foot wide, which will be a buggy equestrian tread. So 2 different treads. And if you're familiar with this, as you've driven around the landscape of the township, you'll know this is called the Go Path because it was a roadway that was developed by PennDOT in the 70s, but never finished. So the grading is done. We're simply placing these 2 treads on existing graded land. And if we can go to the next slide, we can continue. It's a straight shot. We're not zigging and zagging around. We are just moving through that. We envision that those 2 treads will be sloped to the center. The center will be planted with meadow as a way for infiltration, and then you'll see green along green blobs along the area. Those are stormwater infiltration areas. We have 4 rain gardens and 2 infiltration basins. The entire slope from the eastern trailhead to the western trailhead is all downhill. So 1 rain garden can overflow into the next, into the next, into the next. Plus we have the meadow. So we have a lot of ways to control stormwater, and we don't imagine there's going to be that much. It's just coming off those 2 treads. So as we go to the next slide, we're at the end. Geist Road is effectively the end of the township. We're in the English Upper Laycock Township. We're doing some improvements to Geist Road, and then we're developing the trailhead here, the eastern trailhead. You can see in the blow up. You can't see real well, but I will describe it to you. Parking is 34 wheeler spaces, 2 accessible handicap parking spaces, and 5 trailer spaces. Assuming someone may want to come there with a horse, and have a trailer behind it, that's accommodated as well. There's a small plaza as at center of the 2 treads, place for people to meet. If you're meeting a friend and you want to meet there to walk or ride your bike, a couple benches, some interpretive signs, a kiosk with the map, that type of thing. And maybe I should have started here. This goat path for this 1.5 miles part of a much larger trail that's being envisioned in Lancaster County. And it's going to extend all the way into the city, through the city to Lancaster Township. So right now, it will be, with this project, the easternmost portion of it, but there is potential for it to even go further east. So once you stop and meet a friend there, you know, because you're not just going a mile and a half, you can go all the way through 30, and then also you go like further than that, all the way to Long's Park. Other things to know, let's see, I went over the treads. The buggy and equestrian tread is aggregate, so it's the stone, compacted stone, and the bicycle pedestrian tread would be paved. Good things we need to know. We're proposing a grant. The grant application is due the first week of April. We will be submitting that, and funding for the grant will be coming from the PennDOT project. So the grant application, there is a 50% match. The work being done by the PennDOT project will be municipal match. So
Good. Okay,
very good.
very good. It's a great plan. Questions for him, gentlemen?
So the grant would get better scoring one public meeting for having tonight.
You've done a tremendous amount of public outreach, and that's all going to get you scores.
Yeah.
Karen Ralph has provided me with a lot of background information. I've already documented all the participation. It's
Great,
more than I've ever done
great.
in any other grant. So you're covered on that point.
Yeah, how about local businesses sending letters and support?
Some
Yeah. Yeah, just one thought, realizing this ends right at the line of Upper Laycock. One of the businesses that Hutch and I talked to is a large business in Upper Laycock. They had interest in this path, of course, going further east. So I guess the question is Upper Laycock aware of this grant being put through at this point? Or should we make them aware?
I have not called them.
I would suggest that we do. I mean, the greater plan goes potentially all the way east to New Holland area. This would be amazing if we get this. I mean, this is,
This is very exciting.
every step's a good step in the right direction.
Yes.
Yeah, I would concur, Corey. I think, Ralph, you're very well aware of the regional park and open space planning efforts we've been putting in place. Where our surrounding communities stand on that and what they have or have not participated in. Everything we do at this level, I think we should at least communicate to them that we're continuing to pursue this project right up to Upper Laycock's doors.
I hope they hire you and they get a grant for another 4 miles east or whatever it is. I hope. I'm hoping.
Questions? Anybody else? Questions from the audience for Ann? Yes, one at a time. If you can just state your name, if you would, please, ma'am.
Okay, my name's Lauren Mortel. I have the barn at Silverstone and Silverstone and Suites. I didn't come here for this, but what happens? I mean, I've been hoping that goat path would become the new 23. What happens if PennDOT wants to do that? And we've done this.
I'll tell you what, Lauren, if you would start the effort to talk to PennDOT about that now, you'd go for it. Because it isn't happening.
Yeah.
And if it does, they can just go along and scoop all this up and move along. My point of that is sorry to be a shame, but it's a shame to let it sit there for the past 47 years. It's literally sad our lives. So.
Yeah, I think we received a letter basically saying what, 20 for at least the next.
God has said for the next 25 years, we're not even thinking about it. So 25 years, they'll put a light rail there, electrified or something, and who knows what it'll be. And Anything else in response? No? Anybody else? Someone else had a hand up here. Yes.
Brendan Curry, LMP Lancaster Online. How much is this grant and where is this grant coming from?
The grant application was made to Pennsylvania Department of Conservation and Natural Resources. It's a 50-50 program. It's an annual program. They commonly call C2P2, Community Partnership, C2. Community Conservation and Partnership. Okay. So, right now, the grant application is rather healthy at $2.8 million.
$8 million.
Brendan, write that down. You didn't write that down.
It's probably not likely that these fund 50% of that. They're going to look at this and find that they're comfortable with. DCNR is aware that this is a project that's coming in. It's required that you actually reach out to them before you put a grant in. So that's all. They're very excited about this project. So we're hopeful that it's a viable grant.
So I have a question. Trailhead to trailhead, eastern to the western trailhead. What's the elevation change over that?
Did not look at that, but I can tell you it's maybe Doug will south. It's less than 5% slope. It's 1.45 miles. So I don't know what the elevation change is.
Get it going. Do you think the biggest elevation is near the bridge?
It's clearly, we looked at every contour along there and we're less than 5% slope. So it will be an accessible rec as well as a recreation trail. So that's great.
So the initial 1 mile of this is being built as we speak, because it is part of what PennDOT is doing to put in place the Walnut Street Exchange that's going to go into the Greenfield Business Park. So the first mile of the trail is part of that planning process. This next mile and a half is what the township is initiating the next part of the planning process. The entire Greater Lancaster Heritage Pathway will go from, ideally, from the health campus on the west side of Lancaster City, through Longs Park, through the crossings, into Longs Park, along Market Streets, downtown Lancaster, come out Walnut Street, traverse Walnut Street in a maybe on some marked lanes, and eventually make its way to the Walnut Street Exchange, which is what you're seeing here. And we've always envisioned that it would continue to go as far east as New Holland or wherever. If Lauren Mortel gets her lobbying role and she gets PennDOT to pay for the goat path, I don't know, probably somewhere $1 billion at this point, then we'll change the direction of this and it'll run next to the roadway. But for now, it's going where it's going. Okay, that was a lot of the presentation. Thank you all. Ann, thank you. Tara, anything else we should know?
Well, I would just point out that the application is due April 5. So at the next meeting on April 3, we'll be asking you all.
Great.
Great. Thank you, Ann. Appreciate that. Thank you for the participation. Lauren, thank you very much. Appreciate that. Anybody want to write a donation, we'll give you a plaque on the pathway that says this $5 by Brendan Corey from the person. Okay, thank you all. Item number 7, we have a presentation from a new business in East Lampeter Township, Tire Flow. Mr. Peter, is it Haggis?
Haggis.
Sorry, Peter, you're gonna have to introduce yourself again to the public.
My name is Pete Haggis, Peter Haggis.
There you go.
With Tire Flow, and this is our CEO, Jim Meckley.
Happy to meet you.
We wanted to take a few minutes. We're not in a position at this point to be required to do a public notification by processes we're going through, but we thought it would be a good opportunity to get in front of the board of supervisors and anybody who else was present to make everyone aware of what we are intending to bring to the township.
Awesome, great. So
Thank you for indulging a little time for us to introduce ourselves to you. We're happy to be here. Looking forward to be a new corporate citizen in the township. Of course, our name is Tire Flow Environmental. Maybe by the name you could guess that we are a new version of tire recycling We had the good fortune of securing rights to a new technology that was developed in Europe for converting tire waste into fully reusable, highly engineered components of tires so we can create the circular economy where we're taking in waste tires, deconstructing them into their component parts so they can be reused again in new manufacturing processes. So just a little bit about the story of how it came about. I've been in the tire recycling business and waste tire management business for about 8 years. We developed a waste tire management company that worked between Philadelphia and New York, collecting tires from auto dealers and tire retailers. The faster we grew that business, the more disenchanted I became with the actual options for disposing of these end-of-life tires. What I looked at this waste that we're paying to landfill or to dispose of in cement kilns. And I thought that, not only is this an expensive way to do it, but it's very environmentally unfriendly. So I went on kind of a global search for new technologies that had the ability to convert that tire waste into valuable products. That global search, and it quite literally took me to Australia and Asia and Europe, took me all the way back to Lancaster, PA. I met my partner, Bill Spire, longtime resident in Lancaster. He and some partners had developed a technology that kind of had the capability of doing exactly what I was looking for. I'm from western suburbs of Philadelphia, and so we met within a week. Within a few weeks after that, we decided we were going to start a company to make this happen. We selected Lancaster as our starting point for good proximity to the tires that I was collecting. And of course, we were actually looking across the state for buildings, and we wound up finding the location in the Greenfield Center. So
Right off the bike path at the Walnut Street Exchange. That was just done. It's already attracting businesses. See, it's worked. Keep going.
So we have a quick video that please do. We can show you. Give a little back. So with that, I'll turn it over to Pete to give you a little, few more details about the project. And also, while we're here, introduce Eric Laubach, of course, to team members. Also, we built a local team as well. So we're proud to be here.
So we are in the process right now of the permitting stage with the Pennsylvania DEP. We've applied for a general waste tire permit and are working through some of the nuances within those permits as to what the next phase is. Part of the DEP is looking at us as we may need a waste processing permit, but we're actually creating an ASTM standard product right off the first line. We will be going through the air quality permitting just because of the nature of the business that we're putting together. So that ultimately will put us back here again in front of this group and whoever else decides to come and voice some opinions on the matter. But at that point, based on our initial readings off the emissions on our operation that's currently running over in Europe, emissions are minimal, and we may even be in a position where we don't quite need an air quality permit. Everyone hears tire recycling, and I think everyone immediately thinks of stacks of tires and black smoke coming from everywhere. Our facility is designed with where we're located. Everything will be done inside of a building. It'll be done in real time, so we will not have any tires in whole storage at any point in time. We'll be running 3 shifts, 24/7, so it'll be a continuous feed. And you'll see in the next slide where we're located. We are in the former Donnelly building. So truck traffic that will be running through this development will be none other than what was already in there. In matter of fact, it may be less. I think we're looking at 30 trucks per day.
We have the Amtrak line and
Yes, that spur that comes right across that goes, and then Amtrak runs right along 30.
and then Horseshoe Road is sort of to the right-hand side of that picture.
Yes. So again, from the public's perspective, that's what you'll see. I don't think anyone really will even notice what we're doing. The intent of what we plan to put this together is as lean as we can get from a manufacturing perspective, and to access the whole thing from beginning to end. So for anybody coming into the facility, you wouldn't even really realize that we're processing tires. So, next slide. The staff that will be creating, we're looking at roughly 60 job openings. Still playing around with those numbers a little bit, but the majority of what we're looking at are skilled laborers. I know that was addressed earlier. A lot of electricians, a lot of mechanics, a lot of control room operators. So it will be a great place to work and frankly, where model sets will be in a position to be paying in a very attractive range for acquiring town. And as we mentioned in the video too, Eric, I think you're gonna.
Eric Laubach, Chief Revenue Officer, gateway to say sales. So what I'm in charge of is up there on the video, it mentions steel fibers, it mentions oil, silica, and the carbon black. I work on off takes. You know, currently the steel fibers that you get out of the tire, I'm working on a project in California for 25,000 miles of road that they blend the steel into the concrete and it increases the strength of the concrete. I'm working on a project in England that they're building a monorail system that we're also going to be using the steel fibers, and it's being tested right now. So it's kind of neat, all the off takes that you can get from a tire. You know, one thing I didn't want to say with the truck traffic, with the new bypass, that's going to be all diverted right to 30.
Yeah, so
You know, Horseshoe Road should see very little. You know, silica, so the water, you know, if you guys ever had the little things in the shoebox with little pellets, the little white silica pellet things. So it's very similar to that, but it's used for waterproofing concrete and all sorts of different applications. So everything that we get off of it, the tire, is used in multiple applications. So it's just a great story. It's every piece of it, of that tire we recycle, like I said, zero waste. And you know, we're lucky to find the building here at High with the size that we need. And also, like I said, keeping it all indoors. And again, you know, offering another 60 to 70 jobs in the community.
So what sets us apart,
Thanks, sir.
just before we wrap up, what sets us apart, that this technology is currently happening across the globe. It's happening in the United States. And everyone gets to a point where they're getting what they consider carbon black to an 80% purity. The technology that we've linked up with, and we actually own the global patent with our partners, we're able to get that carbon black to a 98% purity level. It's not being done anywhere at this point. So ultimately, we have enough off-takers already lined up for everything we can produce even before the facility is operational. And our intent is 10 plus facilities in the United States with probably another 18 to 20 global.
Good for you guys.
With the headquarters.
Oh, you gotta keep. There you go. Eat them in the restaurants, hotels, ride the bike paths, we got it.
So that's it. Essentially, Pete and I have lived in Lancaster County my whole life, so you know.
He's supporting Manhattan Township Fire Companies, you're supporting Manhattan, good job. Start the checks. All right, good. Thank you all guys very much.
I'd say is there a separation of the metal and before it gets to this facility?
No, so we're actually bringing the whole time. This will be the first vertically integrated facility.
So the trucks that will be bringing the tires, that they will be full tires.
Yes.
And what type of truck do you need to do that? In other words, will it be a dump truck? Is it, how does that work?
Van trailers and box trucks typically. It's the collection companies that are going around to the different auto dealers and tire recycling manufacturers.
Okay. Questions?
Good.
Nice, Del.
Thank
Thanks for your time.
Thanks.
Thank you very much. Look forward to it. All right. Okay, under old business, item number 8, 8A. We have a request for release of financial security, King Byler subdivision 11-10, 2270 Rockville Road. Is there someone here on behalf of this project? No? Okay. All right. Looks like we've got current balance is 6,000. Recommended reduction is for 6,000. There being no remaining balance. There is a note on the township engineer's letter of March 3rd that there be provided to the township condition that the proof of recording of the as-built plan comes forward to the township. So applicant has, I'm assuming, gotten this letter as well too. Okay. All right. What's your pleasure?
Motion to approve the reduction of the escrow account for the David and Mary King plan.
2270 Rockville.
2270 Rockville Road. remaining balance being zero.
Okay, motion by Roger, supporting the engineer's letter of balance would be, final would be zero, but looking for the applicant to provide as-built. Proof of the as-built plan has been filed. Okay.
Is that part of the motion?
That's part of the motion. Part of the motion, yeah. Second by Ethan. Questions, concerns? Hearing none, those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Continue under old business, 8B, a request for release with a substitution of financial security for host Wyndham Land Development Plan number 18-22, Lincoln Highway East. Anyone here from the host Wyndham? Anyone from the applicant? Looks like the township engineer is recommending full release of the $164,933.50 would be fully released. We're recommending full release of the remaining security with condition that proof of recording of the as-built plan is provided to the township and that cash of security in the amount of $2,000 is provided for the completion of the NPDS NOT. Applicants, property owners got the letter as well too? Okay, all right. Questions, concerns? Okay, a motion?
Make a motion to approve the engineer's recommendation of a 100% reduction escrow amount balance and with the following conditions, as-built plan and $2,000 in cash for completion of the NPDS NOT.
There's a motion, is there a second?
Second.
A motion by Ethan, second by Mike. Thank you very much. Okay, questions, concerns? Hearing none, those in favor? Aye. Those opposed, the motion carries. Thank you. Moving on, new business number 9A, Mount Sydney Road Associates subdivision plan number 22-24-458 Mount Sydney Road. I'm assuming that there is someone here on behalf of this. You would state your name for the public record.
Rogers, and that my name is Ryan Trees with RGS Associates, the engineer involved with this project. Parkins, both of us on behalf of Mountain City Road Associates, the applicant. Just a brief overview for the project located at 458 Mount Sydney Road. The project is a approximate 10-acre parcel proposed to be subdivided into 15 lots, 14 of which are designated residential. The rest being HOA maintained storm and which is located at the northeast corner of the plan.
So for the public, Ryan, if you would, Mount Sydney Road is on the right-hand side of that drawing. That's Mount Sydney. And towards the back of the subdivision is the Conestoga Valley campus, Conestoga Valley School District campus. Okay, thanks, Ron.
As part of this project, as well as the subdivision, there is a lot add-on for the southern property owner, the Chubb property, where the existing access drive has frontage onto Mount Sydney Road. The proposed development includes a Sue Ann Drive to the west, terminating into a cul-de-sac, where the lot add-on for the Chubb property will terminate the access onto Mount Sydney Road and provide access on the extension of Sue Ann Drive. As a brief summary here, we are in receipt of the March 7th TMA review letter, as well as the December 27th LCPC letter. Based on the discussion with the Planning Commission, we do not have any concerns with regard to your comments.
Thank you, Brian. So we all have a March 7th DMA letter. You did as well too. Under waivers and modifications, no issues that I see, gentlemen, anybody see issues with it? Technical engineer is addressing all of those and recognizing the issues of preliminary plan, the issues related to the loading ratios for the stormwater, the public streets, So subdivision land development, let's look at that, Ryan, if we can. The sidewalk issues, Ryan, I see some follow-up notes here from on the DMA letter of March 7th. Talk about that if you would.
Yes, the proposed development after discussions with the town, planning commission last week. We're proposing connection from the northeast corner of our property in question here to connect all the way across the frontage of the neighboring two properties to the existing CB High School sidewalk. It's existing, it's pointed to. Improvements involve sidewalk as.
So sidewalk would be all along Mount Sydney from this subdivision across the neighboring property, yours, and then would connect to the CV School District entrance off of Mount Sydney. Let's see, what else here? I guess the financial security issues, item number 4, I see some additional notes there as well too. There's been maybe perhaps been some expansion on that. You want to talk about that a bit?
Yeah, so I believe where that stems from is the currently the traffic planning portion of the PennDOT Road along Mount Sydney. Improvements along PennDOT Road is still being ironed out as far as number of structures for stormwater. So I believe that's where a portion of that revision to the OPC or opinion probable cost step.
Okay.
And then associated ENS controls and so forth.
Yeah, good. Let's go to page 4. Obviously, some continuing notes in relation to PennDOT, the HOP. Pedestrian crossing at Mount Sydney where Sue Ann is, there's some additional issues and concerns there. Ralph, I need to point out on those items at all right now. Anything that you want to point out to us on those right now?
Which items?
Well, so the crossing at Sue Ann, the potential for, continuing to improve that pedestrian areas there and things that this is calling out versus the township may be doing.
Right, we did recently have the township traffic engineer complete an analysis of pedestrian movements for crossing Mount Sydney Road. They did recommend the preferred locations being Sue Ann, number 1, and Stumptown, number 2. So it would be an opportunity if the applicant would be willing to work together on, when the HOP application process starts to try to include what was proposed in that recommendation from the traffic engineer, which was essentially crossing only on the northern leg of the intersection of Sue Ann and Mount Sydney as the appropriate place to have a pedestrian crossing located.
We'd certainly like to have that conversation as things move forward. We have, over the past several years, we've been looking at Mount Sydney as a village residential district. And as you know, the business has been there for a number of years, Doug. I think we've been doing a really good job of providing infrastructure to support that village residential development. This adds 14 units to that neighborhood. Speed on Mount Sydney has come to our attention a number of times from residents, and we've been studying that. We've had police out there, and so we're working with development that comes into that area to try to improve the infrastructure. So that's why we would want to see this if we would with us and you guys to address that.
Yes, that's something we discussed with planning commission and staff, and certainly willing to do that.
Thank you, Doug.
So would we have to work out some sort of at least verbal agreement now that we would do something in the future, or how can we do that?
Well, from my perspective, the applicant's going to have to submit an application to PennDOT, and if the addition of a landing area radius kind of improvement on the northeast corner and the crosswalk markings, associated signage, could be included in that application. That would be ideal. And then it comes down to, what is the cost sharing arrangement for that process as well as the actual installation. The applicant's obviously going to have to make the same sorts of improvements along Mount Sydney Road on the west side of Mount Sydney Road for their development. So, having that little piece added onto that construction, potentially having some sort of reimbursement agreement where the township can reimburse the applicant for costs associated in whatever sharing arrangement is arrived at. If we can do that now as part of the conditions of approval, that's great.
Okay.
Obviously, the applicant has to agree.
Okay. All right.
As long as there's right of way there to do any improvement on the other side, I'm assuming there is. That's certainly so that.
Certainly, I think between the right of way from the subdivision on the other side of Siouxland, there's right of way there as well as the state highway right of way. So that obviously would have to be determined and, designed. But
Okay. There's a possibility if there's a motion that we'll include that in the conditions here, Doug, okay, just so you're aware of that. But I think Ralph's point needs to be repeated, cost sharing. We recognize that, that there's a need for the municipality to step up here because we're looking at something that is not directly in your purview, but it needs to be something that we work with you guys because you're going to be doing work there. You're going to be tearing this apart.
It's the right time to do it.
It's the right time to do it. Okay. I think there's an issue of or note here on number 9 under subdivision on the dedication of land or fee in lieu of. I think there's a note here. I haven't looked at that note yet, but Ethan, have you looked at that note that was on the front there? So we can talk about that as we move through here. So stormwater management, any items of note here that you feel needs to come out from the DMA letter?
The technical items that are to remain, we can address those in the agreements that is ironed out.
Okay. All right, good. Thank you. I appreciate that. Okay. The LCPD, I guess, LCPC, I want to say it all the time. LCPD letter, anything of their site design commentary, things that they've called out, Brian, anything on there that?
The only thing to bring to your attention is comment number 2. We had discussions last week with the planning commission about deferring the design or placement of the individual to building permit. Just because we are not aware of where those buildings will fall, conflicts with existing utility or proposed utility.
Okay with that, staff? Okay, all right. Yeah. There will be individual on wells, water service to each of the properties, and then public sewer tapped into the public sanitary sewer system. So, okay. All right. Questions, concerns, anybody? Comments?
Well, the LCD comment number 5. The request for this out of Siouxland.
Yes. So
that's us or PennDOT.
That is actually, it's supposed to be remediated at this point. The timing of the December 27th LCPD letter and the initial submission to the township, there was an incorrect blank put on our table for site distance that was fixed and was removed from the current March 7th email. So that you did.
Nothing. Okay. Okay. Comments, questions for the applicant? Yeah. Okay. Okay. Give us a moment. Let us consider. Okay. All right. Thank you, John. Okay, so we have the DMA letter of March 7th for the Whitman tract. Applicant just went through with various items that were noted. We do have under waivers and modifications that the township engineer is recommending granting of items number 1, 2, and 3 under subdivision and land development. We just had a conversation with the applicant, clarified, and it looks like the notes also clarify some items that were perhaps out there for discussion and conversation. We do have the issue of the sidewalks and improvements that along the west side of Mount Sidney down to the school district entrance. We just heard from the applicant and staff is saying we would need, if there's a motion, we would need, a call out for a condition that they would be working with PennDOT and the HOP to address the issues of Siouxland and Mount Sidney. With the understanding the township and the applicant would need to work out some cost sharing arrangement. And then there's the question of item number 9 under subdivision and land development, the fee in lieu of. Applicant has provided us with a note prepared March 14th. In our ordinance and our law, we require the applicant to come in and dedicate 0.27 acres. 0.27 acres. Or a fee in lieu of, and that is for open space dedication. Applicant is suggesting, asking us to consider fee in lieu of $12,542. You see their calculations here. So thoughts, questions?
Calculations. Are any concerns with the calculation from staff?
No, this is consistent with the formula in the ordinance.
Right. Good.
And then that pedestrian crossing at Siouxland, let's go down to our engineers or approximation of cost. I think that was land drive cost estimate with no sidewalk. So that's just the pedestrian signs, pavement markings, crosswalk, ADA ramps, curbing, engineering design inspection. It's around 21,000. Is that the one we're looking at wanting to have accomplished?
Here in front of me.
Yeah, I think it was in the PDF, but I don't think it's
exchanged from here.
Yeah, I saw it as well yesterday.
Yeah, it's also from ours. So yeah,
I was focused on a much larger figure. I think that was.
there's almost 68,000.
Yeah.
That includes the sidewalk as well, but this is just the pedestrian crossing at Siouxland.
At Siouxland, okay.
So that's the same one. We're looking at here on the map.
This is not going to be 58 to detail on that one. That's what your staff. Assuming your mind is working on it.
If that's what we're working on, fee sharing, they already have a fee in lieu of track one from the other one.
I think, as I'm looking at this quickly based on the engineer's estimate, without the 500 feet of sidewalk included, looking at somewhere close to $30,000.
For that Siouxland intersection improvement.
Signs, pavement, markings, position, cost escalation, engineering, design, inspection, contingency.
Right. So if you want to use a number, Ethan, we can, or we can just refer,
Staff and the applicant work together on a cost sharing agreement. I'd probably, yeah, I think that's fine.
Just wrestling with it, I can say.
Seconds it.
Someone's gonna second it. We might amend it.
We'll
Yeah.
also then, so
Do it again.
Go ahead.
Really amending.
Make a motion. True. You can't do that.
Just a piece of discussion there. If we did and the applicant work on agreement to put in that pedestrian crosswalk as part of their PennDOT HOP. We also use that 12,542 fee in lieu of parkland as sort of their down payment on that piece, and we pick up the remainder. Or should we handle those separately?
Yeah, they need to be separate because the ordinance requires that the fee in lieu of go in the parkland fund and has to be used on the parkland stuff. So can't really mix those up.
Okay. Okay.
Would you read through that last portion again?
Say it one more time, Mike.
On the fee in lieu of.
So the fee in lieu of, Mike, is in our ordinance by law. So that we can, provide for, obviously development, improvements, but also in accordance with that open space, parks and open space. So for many, many years, we have had in the ordinance that an applicant either provide hard land itself.
And in this case, it was 0.027.
0.027, and that's actually in our ordinance, it's 0.027 acres. Or a fee equivalent to the value of that 0.027 acres, a fee in lieu of, as Ralph just said, that fee in lieu of funds actually go into our parks and rec budget so we can continue to invest in those in the community. So, and Ethan's question was, hey, could we somehow work that as an exchange in exchange for these improvements at Siouxland and Mount Sydney, but we can't. The ordinance actually requires that those funds go into the Parks and Rec.
And if we look at that cost being potentially $30,000, is that what we're?
I think it's a rough estimate, but yes,
Maybe
maybe.
say cost share means split.
I think.
So when I look through.
Well, depends how Ethan, somebody frames it.
Want for the applicant to give us some feedback on there. So in the construction phase, there's the pedestrian signs and pavement markings, the piano key crosswalk. That's one item. Then we've got the roadway items, which is curbing, ADA ramps, on and off. You're already doing that on sort of your side. You should pick up the other side cost. And I would say even the crosswalking and signage. And then there's the mobilization, maintenance, and protection of traffic. If you're already doing that piece.
So the concept I would see is if we're going to do the design, we'll do the permitting, we'll do the mobilization, we'll do the actual construction work, and maybe the reimbursement could be just the reimbursement of that piece of it, the construction, like the striping, curving, the ramp, signage, but we can permit it, design it, that can be our contribution. It's part of cost sharing, just not in the concept. We have to go through the process anyway, so to add that element to it makes sense.
So do you have any estimate of what that cost would be for us?
No, for the, I haven't seen David Miller.
Oh, you haven't seen that, yeah.
This one has it at, and this is just an estimate, of course, but is $9,310 for the signs, pavement markings, roadway items, ADA ramps, curbing. The estimate. So if we said, work with the applicant to create a cost sharing where the township would pick up the cost for the signs, pedestrian signs, pavement markings, roadway items, ADA ramps, and curbing.
That'd be cool with that.
Let me give it that. You have to work that in your.
Applicant's good with that. Okay.
Okay, what's your pleasure, Ethan?
I'll make a motion to approve the final subdivision and lot add-on plan for Whitmer Track, 458 Mount Sydney Road. Conditioned on the Dave Mellon Associates letter dated March 7th, 2023. Granting all the waivers and modifications as recommended by the engineer. Accepting the in lieu of parkland as presented, the $12,542. And the applicant, including with their PennDOT applications, making a pedestrian crossing in Siouxland Drive and Mount Sydney Road and applicant development. With working with staff to do a cost sharing piece with the township. Distribute and share the cost for the signage, pedestrians, arrows, the pavement markings, the crosswalk, the roadway items, the ADA ramps.
Yeah, the LCPD letter.
Also conditioned on the Lancaster County Planning Department's letter dated December 27th, excluding number 5 and deferring item number 2 until the building permits are requested.
Understand everything we caught in that?
Just one other question. Do we have to, I know you mentioned on the letter, the sidewalk going north on Mount Sydney, is that included? Because it's now included in the plan?
It's the DMA letter of March 7 calls it out as the plan shows that.
Shows it, so we're good. Yeah, okay, that's great.
All notes on the DMA letter of March 7.
Yeah, that works.
Okay. All right, there's a motion on the table. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, so the motion is final subdivision lot item plan, March 7th, DMA letter, all the notes per that. The fee in lieu of $12,542. The LCPD letter of December 27, removing item number 5 and deferring item number 2. And the question that the applicant work with staff for the planning of the pedestrian crossway at Siouxland. Okay. All right. Questions, concerns?
I don't understand the referring of number 2.
On the LCPD letter? Yep.
Just more clarity on exactly what.
So the applicant has stated that they would like to defer this because at this point, they do not have the lots laid out and the buildings placed on those lots to know where the wells will actually be.
Defer to the time of.
Would be a building permit.
Right. So that's all, but that's always the case, right? I mean, right? I mean, aren't we circularly saying the same thing?
We issue well permits anytime that, a new well can.
So why is LCPC?
Why did LCPD call that out?
There's typically a separation distance between wells and septic.
Sanitary. That's why they said it. Okay, whatever.
But the building permit is not going to be issued if there is some sort of conflict there.
Public sewers in this case, so, the separation doesn't really.
Okay.
Answer your question?
Yeah, totally fine.
Ethan's motion stands as is. Okay, motion's on the table. It's been moved and seconded. Public comment on the motion? Hearing none. Those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys, very much. Appreciate that. Okay. Okay.
No, I am.
Okay, moving on to item number 9B. 9B is Fernmore Homes, the Rockvale Redevelopment Master Plan number 22-25, and we have Fernmore representatives, I believe, are on Zoom. and also in the room here tonight as well. Tara, do we have?
Yes, Furmore is on Zoom.
That's great. Thank you very much. If you would just please introduce yourself for the record, please, Chris.
Good evening, Chris Lenarchik with RGS Associates. Here this evening to talk to you about the Rockvale Master Plan. We've been in process on this for several months with the township staff, with the planning commission and the board. And we're excited to be back before you this evening to update you where we're at. And then we're seeking approval on the master plan to move forward with the project. So very briefly, I'll give some background. I know we've been through this before, but I think some folks who maybe aren't familiar with what we're proposing, I'll very briefly go through the background. The applicant is Fernmore Homes, and we are to revitalize the property through the master plan option and the utilized center for. As far as what we're proposing, the background is property 65 acres. So, and we all know Rockvale, of course, being on the south side of Route 30, is struggling retail in modern times with online retail and so forth. It's been very challenging. You've seen the decline with the property. So this is an opportunity to really do something with the property and reinvigorate the property with residential as well as revitalizing the commercial on the property. So with commercial properties, you want that visibility along the road. What we're proposing to do is take what we call the southern portion of the property and introduce residential there, bring in those rooftops, attract retail, make the folks who are there want to stay and continue to be on the property, and then redistribute that existing retail and new retail on what I'll call on the perimeter of me. Again, right now it's about 550,000 retail. We'd be looking at removing about 260 square retail and replacing that with. So the master plan that you see up on the screen, does propose 15 buildings, 4 buildings, all in the original master plan, about 200 units. And we came back with a revision of about 400 units. With the appetite of the town before. So working with Fernmore, we kind of roll up our sleeves and really currently the plan shows 504 residential units, again across 15 buildings, 4 stories each. We've also then included the west of all the main portion of the residential, where we're looking to again utilize those existing open areas of asphalt. Where can we better have land use there? So we're looking at introducing a mixed use building where you have your commercial retail on the first floor. And we looked at possibilities there for maybe a daycare or urgent care. And then on the second floor, we have our second floor through 4th floors. We have 24 residential apartments, and those 24.
And that's in which part, Chris, did you just say? You said something about to the west.
I'm looking over here.
Okay.
This is the core of what's proposed for residential buildings. And then, I mean, this is a rather open expanse of asphalt. So we looked at the ability to kind of complement what's already here. This will be redone commercial. So we kind of list that out as retail, daycare, urgent care. There are just some of the opportunities within that building. And then again, floors 2 through 4 would be 24 additional residential units. And then just to kind of touch on some of the other things we looked at in working with staff was the northwest side there. You can see we have a building that's proposed right exactly right there, where again, we looked at a possible small grocer, and that seems to be very attractive. And we're seeing them come into Lancaster County. So that's an opportunity we're trying to at least provide for that, as well as along Route 30 right at South Willowdale Drive, redoing the old diner site and introducing a new restaurant there. Exactly. And as you move to the east, looking at that rather large building along Route 30 and how that maybe connects down to the residential area. So we show basically punching through that existing building, maybe having an opportunity for some outdoor dining or covered dining between those buildings that might attract again another restaurant and have that directly connect down to the residential area. Those are just some of the updates and changes we've made to the plan. We do show the top lot just coming off that axis out where we're kind of coming through that building, right? And I just wanted to point out that was some dialogue we had with the planning commission. There was a request to look for a kind of a central location for that top lot. a location that might serve both the residents, the apartments, and the folks, patrons of the commercial area. But I wanted to point out that that's not, set in stone. We heard feedback again from folks who said maybe you want to think about bringing that further into the residential. So I wanted to point out that that's something we're absolutely open to doing. Being a master plan, we just really wanted to show that we have an intent to have that kind of amenity. But if it gets moved in towards the middle, we said maybe in that central open space where the apartments are right now, we show a gazebo structure, a gathering structure, that could perhaps be a location for that. So I did want to respond to that comment that was brought up.
I like the idea. Thanks for addressing it, Chris. Yeah, I mean, we can always, as the master plan evolves, I can see other green spaces perhaps coming in and some other amenities, maybe a sitting area or something, but I think with that much residential in, having a place for a top lot in that residential area can makes sense. I mean, I could sit there and have a cigar because the cigar place is at the front. Same.
And within that area, of course, we still have the clubhouse that's shown and the amenities that it has. We haven't, again, completely programmed that out, but things like a swimming pool, perhaps volleyball, perhaps a fire pit, just some outdoor gathering spaces. We also have one of the amenities proposed was a dog park. That's very popular as well. So we're really trying to make it an attractive community where people want to live and perhaps even have the opportunity to then work or play, become patrons of the commercial area. I'll touch on, again, the idea that we also incorporated the township streetscape plan. So based on some dialogue with staff, we made some adjustments to that. Just off of the building to the right or the east of proposed apartment buildings, this building is existing and will remain. We show this kind of north-south spine to take people along that frontage up to Route 30, somewhat similar to what you did out at Tanger. You have that multimodal path. And just providing that pedestrian circulation, bicycle network across the property. As far as vehicular access points, unchanged from what you had seen last time. We're looking to obviously leave South Willowdale as it is. We do close off one of the driveways along Rockvale Road to try to have some of that access management and minimize the number of connection points to Rockvale, but certainly ample vehicular circulation across the property. Parking meets the township minimum requirement in terms of the number of units being proposed. And then just touching on stormwater management and utilities, being a master plan, we high level looked at that, but that's really something that would take place during the land development stage and engineering. But what we do know at this time is that this plan that we're looking at actually is a reduction in impervious area. So that helps us out a lot with stormwater management. And then, of course, we're looking to continue public sewer and water service to the property. So that's a quick walkthrough of where we're at. We did receive the latest letter from staff, as well as the latest letter from DMA, essentially saying that the DMA letter saying that my comments have been satisfied. And we're looking forward to continuing the relationship, working with staff and board to advance this request this evening.
Thank you, Chris, for the presentation. I appreciate that. Thank you for explaining it and showing some of the items that have continued to change and evolve and some of the amenities that the applicant is going to questions, comments, gentlemen, feedback for Chris.
Appreciate the evolution and yeah, it's master plan, as master plans do.
The western pieces
Really
didn't hear about before, so. We certainly made a point, as the planning commission did as well too. Hey, how about some more residential? And we heard from the applicant twice at this point, twice. I think as the master plan evolves, that can evolve too. There can be some more housing that could come into this. Could be more some residential. The commercial component, I think we've heard from the planning commission as well. You did as well too, Chris. Just the need to see that evolve as well, encouraging that, looking for creativity and looking for some innovation as you guys continue to move further into developing this over time the look of the commercial or just aspects of the commercial. You're doing some of that already. You're showing us some things you're bringing into it already. So I appreciate that.
Just to comment, I like the changes you made as a response to the planning commission's comments. What I'm seeing is a willingness to work with us, which I appreciate. One thing I like about having a master plan every 3 years is as this starts, gets going, you get some residents moving in there. The project starts to cash flow. That also allows you to start looking at refreshing those commercial spaces. So getting up to 90 to 100% occupancy in the commercial spaces starts to show that a vibrant area where folks want to be. Project starts to cash flow. Then we can look at, all right, how can we refresh those commercial spaces and or overhaul and do something with those to really bring them into the whole master plan. But I just don't see it being feasible to do everything at once. So I think this is a good step in the right direction to start breathing some life into that old property.
No, I appreciate the comment and recognizing the sequence of it. As you probably know, a lot of times to bring in the commercial, you need to have the rooftops. So we believe this plan will accomplish that and really attract retailers to the site. But as part of the application for the master plan, we knew it was important to work with the commercial buildings as well. So provide some of that architectural enhancements that Perkmore plans to do to that, because they are looking at the property as a whole. And when we relocate and redistribute those retail or commercial uses that are currently where the residential will occur, that redistribution will take it pretty close to occupancy. So once that transition occurs, you're going to have a pretty vibrant center right away. And then I suspect that they're going to have folks really interested in filling it out.
I would always encourage Chris just buffering, but not buffering. At the back of that are lines of bad looking white pine trees that were planted 35 years ago or something. It just trying to blend the community as opposed to putting green walls around it. Encouraging that as the plan comes to fruition, looking for ways to provide buffering, but also buffering that is adding to the surrounding neighborhood, and as opposed to creating just green walls that don't let people see through and see what's going on. But there are historic properties that surround this, historic properties that connect to it. Ensuring that those historic properties are not compromised by the green space and the addition of buffering, but enhanced and bringing out the character of the surrounding neighborhood. 40 years ago, gosh, Ralph, when was that developed?
The original part of Rockville?
Before?
Yeah, mid-80s. Yeah.
Before something. As a community, it was an opportunity to bring in something that has been a tremendous economic engine for years to the community. But the way we look at planning, the way we look at land development, community development has evolved. As you do this for a living. There's things we have an opportunity to do now that we didn't do then, and it's evolved. And you're doing some of that. So I appreciate all that's coming out. Continuing to look for that evolving ideas and innovation. Anyone from the public want to what's the plan? So go ahead, our gentleman from the press. Yes.
Brendan Curry, LFP Lancaster Line. So when you said 504 residential units, Chris, is that apartments or townhome units? Multi-family. Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Brendan. I saw a couple of other hands go up here. Yes, gentleman here.
My name is Nick Wagner.
Nick Wagner.
What is the distribution in amount of bedrooms, apartments? Are they all one bedroom mostly, or up to 3 bedrooms? Is that in one band?
At this point in time, we have a general breakdown. So architecture's been advanced to a certain point, hasn't been finalized, being up for the master plan stage, but they have various models. So when you look at, say, a typical 32 unit building, you'll have, looks like 11 one-bedroom units. So, see, 17 two-bedroom units,
and then 4 3-bedroom units. So that's
Per building.
Per building. So you can see the majority being 2-bedroom, with then kind of 1-bedrooms as well being offered, and a few 3-bedroom as well.
Would Brandmore or the township board have any limits on occupancy overall, or could a 3-bedroom have 8 to 10 occupants?
That's probably a code, something in the ordinance that a dwelling unit can have a maximum number of people, but I don't know, it's a great question.
Go ahead. Clara, do you want to comment on that, or Ralph?
It actually depends if they're family
Oh,
related
that's right.
or unrelated.
That's right.
And that's by federal law.
Yeah.
So we would average about 30 or 4 occupants per apartment.
I mean, it's probably,
Did you say 3 or 4?
Yeah.
Occupants?
Right.
I mean, it's tough to say.
Yeah, the market will dictate it, but I think it's referenced that it sounds like there's laws beyond what we can control that limit that.
It's tough to say. I mean, it's just tough to say.
Just wondering how many neighbors we're gonna expect, but at 3, 500 would be about
Yeah.
10% increase.
I mean,
Since the last census was done.
you could guess that maybe. I mean, once again, it's tough to say. Tough to say.
Well, it's relatively simple math, however. Follow up on your buffer question, a couple questions here. Are there future plans? I see you have things on the south side, and you mentioned buffering on the west side. Would we expect on the 2-strip buildings that aren't touched yet, and you talked about future master plans having 4 stories right along the road, or is that something the township is interested in or is not?
At this point, the applicant isn't even touching that portion of the,
Consider buffering in those areas. Seems like the theme of the board.
there is buffering there now. It's been there for 40 years or something. So
About a 4-foot strip of trees there.
yeah, so at this point, we're not discussing what's happening with that portion of it. The applicant is certainly talking about, the concepts that they're bringing forward to us. I'm saying I'd like to see more buffering along the perimeter.
Can the buffering that's present be refreshed in any way? It is less than complete.
We can look at that during the land development plan process.
I just want to preserve the history in the area. It is, I know we're very close to what is now village zoning, but a stark contrast across the street and a fishbowl effect to some of the residents and neighbors that maybe were there before.
I think my comments were intended to suggest that maybe the buffering that's there and the concept behind that 45 years ago was a line of pine trees.
Right.
And I'm suggesting that as staff works through the planning process and the development process, we look at adding some plantings to that and bringing perhaps a little more character to it.
That's something you guys as a board are for, and
right. It would staff would work through the planning process. Okay. Good. Yes. Somebody.
You can go first.
Somebody.
I just had a question
Can
about.
you just state your name if you would, please?
Carrie Esselman.
Carrie Eshelman, thank you.
I live in development on Pleasant Drive.
Okay.
So about the residential unit, is there, I kind of predicted maybe 1,000-ish cars would be in the apartment if they're 2-bedroom, as people usually would have 1 to 2 cars. How will that be worked out with the commercial space there and the cohesiveness of commercial people shopping and also people living there? How's the parking flow for that? Because that could be a lot of contentiousness with people trying to live and people coming in to shop. People get protective about their personal spaces. And so how is that been addressed at all?
I don't know at this time. Fernmore is on the Zoom. They might know at this point. They do this with their communities. I've seen in some cases where, let's say your apartment number 18, and then it'll actually have it striped out and painted, 18A, 18B for your 2 parking spaces assigned to a unit. However, in complexes of this size, we don't do that. The maintenance would be
right. Who controls that?
So in this case, it says a certain minimum amount of parking to support the number of units proposed, which we comply with. And then on the commercial side, the zoning ordinance also requires parking to support the commercial. We remain
get short, there should be adequate for those times. And I think in a residential case, if for some reason, it's just speculation, if someone during the day comes in and says, hey, I'm gonna park in parking lots close to the residential, because during the week, that person's probably at work, or the commercial is open during the day, and evenings when the public using. So in this kind of mixed use community, it shows that it seems to work out, if that helps answer your question.
Yeah, I guess, I mean, I'm thinking like there's a lot of restaurants, they're gonna be open past that line, people coming home and that type of thing. And I'm just trying to see the logistics of the day-to-day of how that actually works when you're living there and there's people coming outside the community, coming in, just to do everything.
Just see, is it Carrie?
Yeah.
So as Chris just said, there are requirements for providing a sufficient number of spots. So, the planning process will require that both the commercial and the residential have the sufficient number or the required number of lots. Where individuals park or don't park, as Mark said, or Chris said, I'm not sure that at this point we can say that Farmore's got a plan for marking spots, but I think the intention of creating an NTD, a neo-traditional design community, or a master mixed-use planned community, I think that concept brings with it behaviors that you might see perhaps in the village of Strasburg or Ephrata or downtown Lancaster. So if I'm coming into a restaurant in the evening, I'm looking for a place to park and to go to eat. And if I'm visiting someone in their home and I'm from outside the neighborhood, I look and I find a parking spot that I can park in. I mean, I think the behaviors will probably play out and produce some of those traditional behaviors, I guess. So I'm trying to answer your question. I don't know that we really have an answer for you as to who will mark spots, but.
Parking spots are projected, correct?
I'm sorry for the last section.
Always too much parking.
The total required parking is 1,733. Total provided parking is 1,906. So we do provide a surplus of parking based on code requirements.
200. Thank you, Chris. Appreciate that. Yes, Lauren.
Lauren, again. I read the minutes and I really, really am saddened to Tara Kitchen's suggestion of having shops on the bottom and residences up top. I just thought that just is over on Fruitville Pike and is just so spectacular. Instead of just a big tall apartment buildings. But I'm wondering about the infrastructure we've got going here. I know we've got now 504, and it sounds like you're might in the future expand that number there to more residents. And I know we can't, I'm not trying to stop it, but I'm just hoping. I mean, we've got 504 here. We talked about the 14 that we just kind of approved, and now 628 is over at Greenfield. I remember when we did the junior high. As soon as it got built, it was overcrowded. Kids could not use it. I mean, it was just too many people, children. We are introducing quite a lot. Does the school board know? I mean, like, have they planned for all of these children that are now going to be inundating our schools? I mean,
We hope. I hope the kids inundating school. I hope there's lots of kids.
Yeah.
Lots of families, lots of kids.
Population is 17,776 as of the 2020 census. And we're now increasing in that. If we don't just have two per apartment, two people, 13%. And 26% if we add two children to that, each of those.
I hope there's 3 children per unit.
But I don't quite understand. I mean, what about our police? Are we adding our police and the fire company?
Absolutely, Lauren. Absolutely, Lauren. You bet. We just brought in 4 new police. We just swore in 4 new police. 40 police officers in the department. If we have to add more, we'll add more.
I'm
The country needs 3.5 million apartments right now. We need 4.3 million homes right now, Lauren. 3.5 million apartments and 4.3 million homes now, not 2035, but now. East Lampeter Township is bringing in about 1,200 apartments with this and with Greenfield. And this board is greatly interested in providing housing options for people. We're not interested in pushing housing to someone else. We're saying our kids, my own 25-year-old son is looking for a place to live right now. We all have kids that are in their 20s. Some have grandkids that are a little older. There's no housing. We're in a housing crisis in the country right now. And while I greatly appreciate your concerns of what that means for change, change is inevitable. And
I understand that. I just want to make sure that we already got
planning
this
for it.
funding for, like, we're selling off our Smoketown, I think. I don't know, maybe we should keep Smoketown and just, you know.
You should run for school board.
Have
you been in there lately?
Got nothing else to do, I'm getting that stage.
No, thank you, Lauren. I appreciate your
I
comment.
would say that,
Former principal of the school here.
yeah, and I know that certainly Ralph and Tara are very familiar with this, but the business office and the district office are, always keeping their fingers on that, on that pulse of birth rates, of real estate transactions, those kinds of things. They have to do that for their planning. And it's a good thing now that we have a brand new middle school that can take extra students and relieve the pressure on the elementary schools for sure. And as the plan goes to redevelop our and update our schools, the YOLA will be next year. We have to maintain Smoketown in order to move kids to be able to do that. And then the high school will be eventually the one that they'll have to do that. So it is on their minds. I know from my time there, we were talking about that too. We always had slow growth in our population, but it was very manageable. This might be, my understanding is the different developments we've had, we have a bump, but there's also the reality that people aren't having as many children, and that's a real issue for us. We hope that there are more children to help carry on many things.
One other thing with the apartments occupancy, Tara was correct in that if it's a family and there's 3 unrelated, then you can't, that's the max you can have in your apartment is 3 unrelated. But like with my father, it was 9 kids. We grew up poor. There was 3 bedrooms. 5 of his brothers, he and 4 of his brothers stayed in one room in one bed. Is there any way, like I was apartment, I had my own apartments and I had in my landlord agreement, no more than so many in occupancy. Is there any way that firm would do that? Or firm could have that in their thing so that at least we don't have the same thing in my pocket.
Ralph, do you want to speak to what code and federal law?
Yeah, as far as, a family, I don't think we can limit the number of people in a family related to one another. We haven't experienced that kind of thing. We have a number of apartment complexes in the township now, and we haven't experienced that as an issue, to my knowledge, since I've been here. So
there have been a few places that have been under the radar that have, been like puppy mills kind of thing. But I don't know. It was a suggestion. If they could, even if it's like, if you have a 3-bedroom, you don't have more than 5 kids. In there with it, to move to a bigger place. I don't know. Just suggestion.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, Lance, I know this was brought up. I think, where are the 2 main entrances going to be to the living apartments?
Chris, could you address that? Thank you, Mr.
South Willdale Drive is here as it goes up to Route 30. We're maintaining that with this plan, and we just have entry points here down into the parking lot areas that wrap around and connect back onto Willowdale Drive here. And then in the commercial area, we punch through right about there for access into the parking lot.
Okay, because there's only going to be two entrances. One off of Route 30 and one off of.
As far as so you have a connection down here and a connection there, and then there's 1, 2, 3, 4 for this area, and 1 here for this area, and also there's a connection here.
So, Mr. Lance, from the exterior of the development, we're not changing the entrances. Those remain the same. What Chris was showing you is to the residential component within inside of it, there are about, I think, I counted almost 5. Chris, you were just saying that. So there's about 5 from within to get to that.
And, another concern I have, do they have to be 4-story? Are you concerned about the looks of the community? I mean, right there, Route 3896, 4-story apartments. I just want to throw that out.
Sure.
And with all the commercial space around the 4-story apartments, they're only 1-story. Are those people going to be, I mean, what kind of landscaping is going to be done around the apartments?
I don't know if you can answer that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure they'll do aesthetic type landscaping just to enhance the appearance around the base of the buildings. And then throughout the open spaces, we show pockets of landscaping we've considered berming and so forth. I've seen what they've done in other locations and do attractive landscaping on this property.
To be clear, Chris, there is one fewer entrance off of Rockvale Road.
Correct. We did close one of the driveways.
Would that be sure where that was?
Sure that was, yeah.
Yeah, was that in between, like where the courtyard is?
I want to say this driveway's maintained.
Yeah.
I want to say it's somewhere
Somewhere in there, yeah.
Okay. Sorry, Chris, I missed that, Ralph. Appreciate that. So we have removed one of the existing throughways from the complex onto Rockville. We've removed that, Mr. Lawson.
You might want to consider that there. Or because I live on the other side of the wall with you, but even now, I mean, you get tremendous amount of traffic coming out there. I mean, a tremendous. You're probably going to end up maybe putting red light there. Because people very slow out of Rockville because they think, hey, this is Port Authority, I'm sorry, onto Rockville. And there's, I mean, so many times where people just about got hit.
One of the things that we've talked about, Chris, when we first began looking at this, Ralph, is we were looking at this as we're probably actually reducing the amount of traffic that's coming out of there because we're removing 250,000 square feet of commercial. I forget how many trips that would generate and so forth. Can you speak to any of that at all, Chris?
And there was a traffic analysis done as part of the master plan, and certainly when we get into the land development component, that will continue. But there is a requirement ordinance that you can't increase your traffic by more than 10% for a project like this. So based on our initial analysis, we feel we're in that threshold. And to your point, with commercial, particularly on the weekends, you have a surge of traffic where we don't believe that will be the case in this situation. And with the residential having direct access to South Willowdale comes direct to 30 within the signalized intersection there, I would imagine most traffic will be distributed to that light. So it is actually ideal when you look at the signals surrounding the property. And then even on the far west side, you've got another traffic signal. So 4 traffic signals, which are identified with the orange circles there on the plan.
Yeah.
You've got the ability to control traffic pretty well for a development like this. And that's one of the benefits of an infill project like this, is that much of that infrastructure, such as traffic signals, are already in place.
Correct. Okay, thank you, Chris. Appreciate that. What else?
One more question.
Yes.
I saw the picture of the buildings in the paper and they look really pretty. Are they going to be pretty on the backside too? I mean, I just didn't, I mean, because I'm gonna live at the backside,
Are you referring to the apartments?
apartments, yes.
So in other words, what might face Rockvale Road, that, is that?
What faces Bowman Road?
Oh, Bowman, okay.
That's what, okay,
I mean, we did provide for the application perspective, like illustrative views and artist rendering of what the building will look like, that like you were referring to.
okay,
I would imagine that same theme of material be carried around the entire building.
okay, okay. Because, yeah, I just would hate to look at back of the summer.
Oops, sorry, yes.
I would really encourage buffer.
Oh, say it again.
I would really encourage buffer.
And I,
A wall or trees or something.
Yeah.
Because I think I asked me now already, are you ready for a big wall out in front of your house?
Yeah.
That's what it's gonna look like. I mean, it's gonna be 4 stories. It's going to shoot up in the sky.
Sure.
Yeah.
Where do you live?
I didn't introduce myself. My name is King.
My
On Hartman.
name is King. On,
Hartman Bridge.
okay. South.
Fieldsville to
South. Okay. Chris, 4 stories from 300 yards away. Just in your perspective, what does that do?
Well, I think, I don't know if we have it available, but there was, as part of the application, there was an aerial perspective provided to show what that was story. Initially, we had it at 3 stories. We showed what that looked like. And then when we refiled the application, we submitted it, we modified that to show that 4th story.
Yeah.
You know, being along Route 30, a major corridor, my own personal opinion, I don't think it exceeds what would be typical for something like that.
Yeah.
It'll be
shorter than the True by Hilton.
Sure, exactly.
Oh, yeah.
I think that height is allowed to 70.
Yeah,
But it's on-
70 is allowed 95 with more setbacks. So we allow 95 feet and a 4-story is about 48.
Yeah. And I mean, when we start talking about the need for housing, and you know, the pressure is here and the push is to go vertical.
Yeah.
So we're not taking up more land horizontally.
Yeah.
So it's.
Mr. King, correct?
Yeah.
Mr. King's question and point, we've talked about it a couple of times, and we'll keep it out to the staff, is the buffering. There's nothing that I can envision that the developer is going to plant that in my lifetime or yours, it's going to cover. Just caution that. You may be a little younger than I am, but it's not going to happen in my lifetime. But I think the buffering, you know, I can continue to make the point, you know, the neighbors have made the point too, as well as, you know, the high companies have done tremendous work over the past 50 years to produce a quality of plantings and, you know, buffering that really, in my estimation, add to the community than detract from the community. And I think if we can encourage the Fernmores to do the same thing, we'll appreciate that.
Yeah.
Yes, Mr. King.
This goes a couple of years back now. You guys were considering putting a sidewalk in
On Rockvale.
on the south side. Is there going to be a sidewalk in this project or not? Good or?
Let's let Ralph speak to that, because we have been working on, you refer to the multimodal path. We were trying to do a sidewalk. So can you just update the community on that?
This plan includes having a multimodal pathway on their side of Rockville Road that will come through the property. And then, as Chris was pointing out during his presentation, would turn and go back up to Lincoln Highway.
I just want to point that out a second for them. This sidewalk pathway that they're putting in on the north side of Rockville on their property, this would not continue though to the intersection at Rockville and Hartman Station. We were trying to work that with the previous owners, but Chris, you want to point out where this would go?
Sure. So the multimodal path comes down from the north to the south here, then turns, runs along the property. It's basically a meandering pathway versus just a straight concrete walk meandering pathway that then, as pointed out, then turns north to connect up to the streetscape plan.
So bike, strollers, walking, jogging, skateboarding, things of that nature, all along the back end of their property, then goes all the way back up through the property and then connects all the way back up to Lincoln Highway up towards, I guess, towards the intersection of Bowman there. Similar to that.
Harbor Bridge, yeah.
Harbor Bridge. Oh, Harbor Bridge, yeah.
Well, thank you guys for, I don't know how I want to word this, but rather than taking some good farm ground, I mean, I see this worthwhile for going in, if they want to bring residential in, taking these commercial buildings out that are kind of worthless right now and putting housing in there rather than tearing up good farm ground.
We agree, Mr. King.
But
Stand
I just wish you'd keep the size down a little bit.
We don't agree, Mr. King.
Just a note, comment on size, if you look at the steamboat, I'm pretty sure the smokestacks are still gonna be taller.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Because the steamboat's 3 stories, right?
But their first story is pretty high and then the smokestack. So if you look at the smokestacks, that's probably gonna be the height of the building.
Look into.
There's another question here. Your name?
Ben King.
Ben King.
I'm on Rockville Road. I was wondering, are there any plans for the road improvements or wideness or?
Why do you ask that?
I'm just wondering.
I don't blame you for asking.
The reason I ask you that is I just want to know where you, as a resident who lives on Rockville Road, do you want me to come back there and put a 3-lane, 4-lane road in?
Here, down to both, on both roads, the 8 and 6.
Yeah, we'll have to look at that during the land development process and see what's required.
I can
It'll depend
understand.
on traffic and other considerations.
Yeah, the road needs to be redone for one thing.
Well, we have
We've
been,
been waiting for redevelopment to happen.
honestly, Mr. King, there's been 3 owners now in the past, whatever, 8 years. We've been working with each one, trying to come up with a plan. From Bowman to Hartman Bridge, trying to figure that out. Now, from Bowman back up to Strasburg Pike, where a bunch of us live, I don't want to improve Rockville Road. I don't want that.
We want to keep Rockville Road flat.
The idea for the past 40 years of boards of supervisors is keep our development up towards Lincoln Highway, where the urban growth is, where all the infrastructure is now. That's why we're doing these sidewalks and bikeways and things, so that we can make it more pedestrian friendly. We call it our Main Street, keep our Main Street more pedestrian friendly. And this Mr. King here said, residential development where we're not eating up farmland. And, we don't want to see that happen either. So we're working very hard to do that.
So you're saying, you're thinking it won't get more cars with this plan than what it is with the stores there now?
If the stores were full.
If the stores were full.
Exactly. Yeah. There's no back. Sure.
It's
Pete, you're thinking
Yeah.
it wouldn't be much of a difference.
It's going to be a continuous traffic flow. And it's, before it was like from 9 till like it's 9 to 9 about,
Yeah, there's no back to school shopping. There's no Christmas shopping. You're not going to get those huge peaks for residential.
But I would also make an argument that daytime traffic, when people are at work, will be limited.
It's gonna be rush hour.
Yeah, I mean,
different traffic flow.
it's going to be different traffic flow. Exactly. And
on improving roads, be careful what you ask for.
Yeah, speed.
When Millstream was resurfaced, it's now a raceway. I would love to have Rockvale Road's quality on Millstream Road because it would slow down the.
I guess that was another thing too. If we could reduce the speed limit on Rockville Road, that may be helpful too.
Bowman Road.
Yeah.
Small strip.
we have more conversations about what you can have. Honestly, we can't solve it. It's so hard to solve it. There was something that someone said that was the traffic, Mike. You said, one of the things that we have all been talking about it as previous board, this board, staff has been working on, and that is, can we get housing like this close to where some of the people who work in these businesses, can they ride a bike to work? Can they walk to work? You know, American Music Theater, Chick-fil-A, some of the hotels here. You know, Ethan has been bringing up, you know, childcare, you know, and I think Chris mentioned the possibility of some of those kind of businesses, trying to bring the people close to where they work, residences. You can't do it for all people. Some of these people are going to live here and they're going to travel to King of Prussia to work. That's probably you're going to the truck tomorrow morning to work on roofs or something, you know? So I can't determine where people are going to work and live, but hopefully we can have some people close by where they can walk to work, so.
Well, I just got back from Holland, and that's the kind of communities they have on the, down on the first floor is the shops, and on top is the residential, and it works so great, but you have to have the shops have grocery
And
stores.
just beyond the back side of those houses is what?
Farmland.
Farmland.
Yeah.
I was in Switzerland and Germany last year,
Yeah.
same thing, and they were 3 stories, they weren't 4, they were 3 stories. And just out back, there's a tractor out there and there's farmland, and that's what we're trying to encourage,
Appreciate that.
okay?
It's going to be interesting to see as this apartment complex is built out. It's going to be interesting for me to see what the age distribution is and also what the family component is going to be. So I think the family formation, people getting married, having children, I mean, it's really been delayed 7, 8, 9 years, and that, you know, doesn't put a whole lot of pressure on schools.
One more question.
Do you know that the distance from Rockville Road to the first apartment building? What's the distance?
I was thinking about that earlier. So the way I can graphically, this is a typical parking lot bay. So it's about 64 feet wide from here to here. So from Rockville Road, I have another 20, 25. So let's just call it 20. So it's 80, 84. So about 100 feet in this location. This building's a little closer to the corner, but just as a frame of reference, just looking at that graphic, probably about 100 feet.
Like 99 feet?
Okay,
Farm area, that would get closer than being one to that. Yeah, well,
That's closer.
that might be like 60 feet or so from the road, and
This is the plan. It's not.
this is, you're gonna, this is a concept.
You can explain.
Closer here than more, depending on what.
So first of all, there's setback requirements that are required. So you all have great interest in this, and I appreciate that, so keep coming. This is just a conceptual master plan. Our planning commission has heard this twice. Staff's looked at it. We've been talking to the developer a couple of times before he made the purchase. He came to talk to the community to find out, is this something you guys will support before I make this very significant investment? So now they need to go through the actual planning process. So there will be a lot more specifics for some of the things you're talking about. You should come in and talk then.
They'll have to do a traffic.
The traffic studies as well too. Yep. Okay. All right, we probably need to keep going because it is 10 of 10 and we're not quite done yet. So, okay, thank you all to the public. We need to let Fernmore know where we're at on the master plan, gentlemen. So what's your pleasure?
Any motion? To accept the affirmative. Rockville redevelopment master plan number 22-25. With the condition the applicant works to improve upon the designs for the non-residential structures and uses as part of future master plan updates.
And let's reference the March 9th, David Miller Associates letter. Okay. That's for number 2.
Reference to the March 9th.
Okay, so is there a motion, is there a second? Okay, motions by Mike to accept the master plan as presented for the DMA letter of March 9th. With obviously, Mike, I think, just to stress the point, the buffering, types of materials for the buffering, and that the community is obviously interested in seeing the property reused and redeveloped. With hopes that the master plan will continue to evolve and really show us some innovative designs for the commercial as well too. So, second by Roger, correct? Yeah. Okay, motion by Mike, second by Roger. Okay. Questions, concerns?
I would just ask that you, although there's been plenty of input, ask for any public input before you vote.
Okay. So any final public input on the motion on the table? None, Tara, nothing through.
There has been nothing all night.
Okay, Chris, understand the motion? Okay, all right. All right, those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? The motion carries. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Same to the property owners. Thank you all very much. Okay, item number 9C, as we said at the beginning, has been tabled or removed. Item number 10, action items. Township Planning Commission, the 2022 annual report to the Board of Supervisors.
This is a requirement of the municipality planning code that the planning commission prepares a report. And they've done that as they have annually. And, ask for your acknowledgement.
Thank you. They'll get a chance to make sure we all take a look at it, okay? We got a great planning commission right now. They're doing a great job. So that's some super team. Thank you, Rob. 10B, appointment of the sewer enforcement officer and the alternate sewer enforcement officer.
The enforcement officer that we've had for as long as I've been here, Marvin Stoner, decided to stop doing that as a business enterprise. And so we've also, as long as I've been here, had a gentleman by the name of Dale High, who's been the alternate SEO. And indicated to us that he's interested and willing to step up, if you will, named SEO. And we also made contact with Leonard Spencer, who is another be certified SEO that works in the county. He's also interested to be the alternate. So we'd ask you to consider making those appointments. Okay. At the beginning of the year, you might remember that Marv and Dale were appointed as chief and alternate. So now you're just sort of doing that again with different names.
Dale moving up. And what's the gentleman's name again?
Spencer, not Mr. Spencer moving in.
Spencer moving in. Okay. Right? Okay. Is there a second? Okay. Motion by Corey, second by Roger. Those in favor? Aye. Those opposed, the motion carries. Thank you. 10C. Approval of the sewer enforcement officer service rates.
As you might expect with changes of this sort, change goes along with what the rates are. And quite honestly, the rates that Marvin had been charging were very low and hadn't changed for a very long time. So I think it is time that we update these rates. We did receive rate information from both gentlemen, and we feel that this schedule that was put together based upon those rates would serve the community well. So we're asking and suggesting that you adopt this new set of rates for SEO services.
Okay. For motion?
Motion to approve the SEO service rates, the new service rates as presented.
Second. Motion by Mike, second by Ethan. Those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much. Managers report, Ralph.
Wanted to report on the ongoing activity at the Walnut Street extension. Project does continue. We have been informed that there will be a closure of Mill Cross Road between Pitney Road and Creek Hill Road when they'll be setting the bridge. Tara put up a few photographs that have been taken fairly recently out on the construction site. That's sort of, that's where the bridge is going to be looking.
Yeah, the abutments look good. Saw those going up.
So early in May, starting on April 3rd, there will be closures and related detour for a few days to get a beam set, and then intermittently throughout the month as they're doing decking and other things and they need to close the road, that'll be done.
How are we doing with the culvert over on not Willow, on Pitney Road?
It's to the best of my knowledge, it's still plated and paved over. I don't think they've removed that protection. And I don't think they've indicated to us that they're complete, where it would be our time to go out and do an inspection of condition to determine whether.
Most of movement's been done, right?
I think for the most part, yes. There is still the project that they're doing for the sanitary sewer, which is going along Pitney Road to get to Greenfield. So there's still a lot of construction associated with that. Again, back to Walnut Street, we have also been told that paving should be starting soon. So again, early April, and paving is going to take place at night. So we can expect that in order to avoid delays on the highway and material delivery and that sort of thing, they're going to do that operation at night. The trail portion, from Oak Grove Drive out to roughly Mill Cross, at least a portion of that's going to be daytime. Don't want to be that close to the neighborhood and disturb them with night. So that'll be coming along soon. In addition, heard Ann's presentation earlier tonight about the grant application for that have gone in. Section improvement at Greenfield Road and Hempstead Road, almost 1.8 million allocated for that. And also the ones that Paris submitted, additional work related to the Connection Heritage Pathway. In particular, looking at the neighborhood, Grove and Willow Lane, to develop that section of it. Also approved $126,980 for that essentially conceptual planning effort. If we get funding that Dan's helping us apply for, we may have to figure out how we're going to allocate these dollars, but that's a nice problem to have if we do. One thing that Ann didn't say was that the information that we had gotten on the current project that's under construction, the portion that's associated with the trail that they're building is about 3.4 million. So that's eligible as our, which is 2.8. Theoretically, anyone enough match. So we'll see how it needs to be handled. I believe he's excited about it.
They're excited about it because dinner department, DCNRs. We put a park where PennDOT was going to put a road.
I think they genuinely see it as a very worthwhile project.
It's a model.
They won't be involved in it and want to be able to, we have to put a sign up that says DCNR. So.
DCNR in 72 when they should have started all their office.
I think it existed.
Different pin show.
Different picture.
Also, we report on, we actually authorized proceeding with the housing. And proposals due by Friday, the end of the business on Friday, the 14th of April. We've already started getting comments and questions from consultants, so we believe it's going to be very attractive. So
Good to hear.
that's underway, and I'm happy to answer questions, but I know it's
I've had 32 ounces of water. Okay, there a motion? Motion by Corey, second by Ethan, those in favor, aye. Motion carries. Thank you much.